Hello, my friend. Welcome to tonight's sleep story. Tonight, we'll follow a gentle path into a quiet place where nothing is demanded of you. A place where the rain falls steadily, and the forest seems to listen, not in a magical way, not like a secret waiting to be solved, but in the simple way nature holds you when you finally stop rushing. This story is called Where the Forest Listens to Falling Rain. It's a slow walk. A warm shelter. A soft return to yourself, and little by little, it will bring you closer to sleep. I step into the forest just before the rain begins. The air is already dense, cool against my skin, as though the world has paused to take a deeper breath. The scent of damp earth rises around me. Rich and steady, layered with the soft smell of moss and bark. Overhead, the sky is slowly veiled in soft gray clouds, drifting together in patient silence. A light breeze moves through the treetops, and the leaves respond with a low, hushed murmur. Far in the distance, muted thunder rolls, not sharp, not startling, but round and gentle, like a drum wrapped in velvet. It feels less like a warning and more like a promise. Beneath the tall, sheltering trees, I feel enclosed in something steady and ancient. Their trunks rise like pillars, their branches weaving a quiet roof above me. There is safety here. The kind that does not need to announce itself. The first drop falls. It lands on a broad green leaf with a sound so soft I almost miss it. Then another, and another. The leaves begin to whisper to one another as the rain gathers courage. Droplets slide slowly along the grooves of tree bark, tracing familiar paths downward. Water gathers at the tips of fern leaves, trembling there before letting go. A single drop falls onto an old wooden stump, darkening the grain in a widening circle. The rhythm begins to settle, steady, gentle, unhurried. The rain becomes a soft curtain between the trees. I walk slowly, listening to the quiet rustle of wet leaves beneath my feet. Somewhere nearby, a small dry twig gives way with the faintest crack, softened by moisture. Above me, a squirrel moves carefully along a branch, its tail growing heavier with rain. Its movements measured and deliberate. In a misty clearing ahead, a deer grazes quietly. Tiny droplets rest along its back like scattered beads of glass. It lifts its head once, calmly, without alarm, simply noticing. Not startled. Just present. Near the roots of a large tree, a hedgehog is tucked safely beneath the exposed curves of wood, sheltered from the heaviest drops. Higher up, an owl watches silently from a dark branch, its outline softened by the falling rain. A small stream nearby grows slightly fuller, its voice deepening into a richer tone as water joins its path. Raindrops form gentle circles in a shallow forest puddle, expanding and dissolving into one another. A snail glides slowly across damp bark. Carrying its quiet home with patient certainty, the forest is alive, but it is not restless. It breathes. The rain settles into a steady background rhythm, echoing like a calm heartbeat, soft, consistent, reassuring. The air grows cooler and softer against my cheeks. Colors become muted, tinted in deep greens and softened browns. Light filters gently through the canopy, diffused and tender. There is a sense, subtle but steady, that the forest is quietly protecting me. A single raindrop lingers at the tip of a leaf longer than it seems it should. It trembles there, holding the entire gray sky within its curve. When it finally falls, it does so without sound. A faint mist begins to glow softly between the trees. Not bright, not unnatural, but luminous in its own gentle way. It feels as though the forest remembers every quiet step that has ever passed through it. Every season, every rainfall, every breath. The deer lowers its head once more, the rain begins to soften, the steady rhythm lightens into scattered droplets, tapping quietly on leaves and bark. The forest grows almost completely still. The air feels freshly washed, clean and cool, carrying the scent of wet pine and soil. Somewhere, water trickles along roots, threading gently through the earth. I find shelter beneath a wide, ancient oak. Its trunk is broad and steady at my back. The last droplets fall from its high branches in slow intervals. Fading one by one, I breathe in, slowly. The air fills my lungs like calm water. I breathe out. The forest answers with silence. The rhythm of droplets fades into memory. The mist thins. Everything feels warm in its coolness, steady in its quiet. I am safe here, and the forest, washed in rain, rests with me. The rain has nearly finished speaking, yet its presence lingers in the air like a final whispered word. I remain beneath the ancient oak, feeling the vast steadiness of its trunk at my back. The bark is rough but comforting, patterned with ridges that seem to hold years of quiet observation. Above me, a few last droplets gather at the edges of broad leaves. They hesitate, then fall, one at a time, into the softened earth below. Each small sound lands gently, like the closing notes of a slow melody. The forest feels freshly washed. The scent of moss has deepened, richer now, mingling with wet pine and dark soil. Small mushrooms have begun to emerge from the base of nearby trees, pale caps pushing carefully through the loosened ground. Mist drifts lazily between the trunks, moving without urgency, weaving through branches and low shrubs as if it belongs there, as if it has always known the way. I step forward again, slowly, mindful of the softened earth beneath my feet. The leaves no longer whisper with rainfall, yet they hold a memory of it. When I brush against a low branch, droplets release themselves in a delicate cascade, sliding down bark, tracing grooves, slipping quietly toward the roots. The small stream I noticed earlier now carries a slightly fuller voice. It moves with a gentle confidence, water threading around stones, gliding over pebbles polished smooth by countless seasons. The tone is deeper than before, not louder, simply rounder, as though the rain has tuned it into a softer register. A firefly flickers faintly between two dark trunks, its glow subtle against the gray light. Then another answers from farther back. Their small lights do not compete with the dim sky, they simply exist, steady and patient. The deer has moved on, leaving behind only the quiet impression of its steps in the damp clearing. The squirrel has disappeared into thicker branches, and the hedgehog remains sheltered beneath roots that cradle it like curved arms. The owl is still watching, unmoving, part of the deepening hush. The air grows cooler, yet it carries warmth in its softness. I notice how the forest seems to breathe in slow cycles, a gentle stirring of mist, a faint shift in leaves, the nearly silent settling of water into soil. It feels as though I have stepped inside a living rhythm, one that continues whether I observe it or not. The sky lightens slightly behind the thinning clouds. Not bright, just pale. A suggestion of openness above the canopy. I pause beside a shallow puddle where raindrops once formed careful circles. The surface is now almost still, reflecting fragments of branches overhead. One delayed droplet falls from high above, landing at the center. The circle widens, expands outward, touches the edges, and fades. Nothing rushes, nothing demands. The forest simply exists, grounded and protective, holding every small movement within its patient embrace. I draw a slow breath in through my nose, filling my lungs with the cool fragrance of rain-washed bark and softened leaves. I let it out just as slowly, feeling the quiet settle deeper inside me. The rain has passed, but its calm remains. The forest does not hurry to return to what it was. Instead, it lingers in the gentle afterglow of rain, as though savoring the coolness that rests along every surface. I walk slowly along a narrow path barely visible beneath the darkened leaves. Each step presses softly into the earth, which yields without resistance, damp and forgiving. Mist continues to drift between the trunks, thin as breath. It curls around low branches and exposed roots, then loosens again, dissolving into the open spaces between trees. The air feels smoother now, easier to inhale, as though it has been carefully rinsed. A bead of water slides down the length of a slender birch trunk beside me. I follow its path with my eyes as it gathers smaller droplets along the way, growing heavier before finally releasing itself into the moss below. The moss absorbs it without sound. Somewhere deeper in the forest, the small stream continues its quiet murmur. I can hear how the water brushes along stones, how it bends gently around fallen twigs. The sound is steady and layered, like distant breathing. It does not call for attention, it simply exists as part of the whole. I notice how colors have softened further. Greens appear deeper but less vivid, as if seen through a thin veil. Browns are darker, richer, holding a subtle sheen. Even the gray sky filtering through the canopy feels gentle, diffused into something almost silver. A fallen log rests along the path, its surface darkened by rain. Tiny mushrooms cluster along its side, their pale stems lifting delicate caps toward the dim light. A snail moves patiently across the damp wood, leaving behind a faint, glistening trail that catches what little light filters through. Its pace is untroubled, certain. From above, a final droplet releases from a high branch and lands on my sleeve. It is cool but not startling. I brush it away slowly, watching it fall into the undergrowth where it disappears from sight. The forest feels even quieter now, as if the rain has pressed a soft blanket over everything. No wind moves through the treetops. The leaves hang still, heavy with what remains of moisture. In the distance, muted thunder hums one last time, so faint it feels imagined, rolling far beyond the hills. I step into a small clearing where the mist gathers more densely. The ground here is open, carpeted in wet grass and scattered leaves. A shallow puddle reflects the pale sky above, nearly motionless. I pause at its edge and watch as a single drop falls from a blade of grass into the water. The ripple expands outward, slow and perfect, until it dissolves against the edges. It feels as though the forest is holding a long, steady breath, and I am breathing with it. Inhale, cool and clean, exhale, slow and steady. The quiet deepens, not empty, but full of softened sound, muted color, and the gentle certainty that nothing here is rushed or undone. The rain has finished, yet its rhythm lingers in the air, steady as a calm heartbeat beneath the trees. The stillness deepens so gradually that I almost do not notice the moment it fully arrives. I stand at the edge of the clearing, and the forest seems to settle another layer around me, like a soft cloak laid gently across waiting shoulders. The rain has withdrawn into memory, yet its rhythm remains, echoing quietly inside the spaces between trees. The ground beneath my feet feels cool and steady, holding the last of the moisture like a quiet secret. I move toward the small stream, guided by its low and constant murmur. The water has grown clearer now, no longer stirred by falling drops. It glides around stones with smooth assurance, tracing familiar paths carved long ago. When I kneel beside it, I notice how the surface reflects the canopy above, dark branches stretching across a pale sky, slightly blurred by the current's patient motion. Mist hangs low over the water, thin and luminous. It shifts slowly, never breaking apart, only rearranging itself. The air here feels cooler still, brushing against my skin with gentle persistence. I breathe it in, and it carries the scent of wet bark, softened pine needles, and distant moss warmed faintly by returning light. The forest feels protective. Tall trunks stand like quiet guardians, their crowns interwoven high above. Even in silence, they seem aware, not watchful in any tense way, but steady and present. I realize how enclosed I am, not trapped, but held. The open world beyond the forest seems far away, muted by layers of branch and leaf. A drop clings to the very tip of a fern frond near my hand. It trembles there, refracting the dim light into something almost luminous. I wait, and for a long moment it does not fall. It simply rests, suspended between earth and air. When it finally releases, it lands without sound, absorbed instantly into dark soil. Somewhere behind me, a single leaf loosens from its branch. It drifts downward in slow spirals, guided by invisible currents of cooling air. When it touches the ground, it makes no more noise than a breath. The owl I noticed earlier shifts slightly on its branch. The movement is minimal, a quiet adjustment of feathers dampened by rain. Its presence does not disturb the calm. It belongs to this hour as naturally as the mist and the fading clouds. The sky above begins to lighten, though the sun remains hidden. A gentle brightness filters through the canopy, turning every lingering droplet into a small point of silver. For a moment, the forest seems threaded with faint light. I close my eyes. The sound of the stream becomes clearer. The air moves softly around me. My breathing slows to match the steady pulse of the water. It feels as though the forest itself is breathing, expanding and settling, expanding and settling, and I am simply part of that quiet rhythm now. Nothing presses forward, nothing demands attention. There is only this layered calm, this cool air, this gentle protection of tall trees and softened earth, and I remain here, within it, steady and unhurried. I remain beside the stream a while longer, listening as its steady voice blends with the hush of the forest. The stillness no longer feels like something that arrived after the rain. It feels ancient, as though it was always here, waiting patiently beneath every falling drop. When I rise, I do so slowly, brushing damp earth from my hands. The ground releases me without reluctance. My steps carry me deeper between the trees where the mist lingers in softer strands, drifting at waist height before thinning into the undergrowth. Each breath I take feels cooler than the last, yet gentle, as though filtered through layers of leaves. The forest light shifts again, almost imperceptibly. The gray above has softened into a pale silver blue, and the trunks around me seem taller in this diffused glow. Their bark, darkened by rain, holds a muted sheen. I trail my fingers along one broad trunk as I pass, feeling the ridges and grooves beneath my palm. The surface is damp but steady. Grounding, a faint movement catches my attention ahead. The deer stands once more at the edge of another clearing, half veiled by mist. Tiny droplets still rest along its back, glimmering softly. It lifts its head and looks in my direction. There is no fear in its gaze, only calm awareness. For a long moment we remain still, sharing the same quiet air. Then it lowers its head again and resumes grazing, unhurried. Somewhere near my feet, water trickles along a shallow root channel carved into the soil. The sound is delicate, barely louder than breath. I follow the thin ribbon of movement with my eyes as it slips around stones and disappears beneath fallen leaves. The forest seems to remember everything. It holds impressions of steps long gone, of seasons layered gently upon one another. The rain has awakened that memory, polishing it, revealing it without words. Even the smallest details feel intentional, the way droplets gather at the tips of needles, the way moss cushions exposed roots, the way mushrooms rise quietly from the earth as though answering an unspoken call. A single raindrop clings once more to the edge of a leaf overhead. It lingers longer than seems possible, reflecting the pale sky and the dark outline of branches. Time stretches around it. The forest does not rush its fall. When it finally releases, it descends slowly, landing in a shallow puddle where it forms one perfect circle that widens and fades. The air grows even softer, the breeze has completely stilled. I become aware of my own breathing again, slow, steady, matched to the subtle rhythm that hums beneath everything. Inhale. Cool and clean. Exhale. Warm and quiet, the mist begins to thin at last, rising gently between the trunks as if drawn upward by invisible threads. Light filters more clearly now, though it remains gentle, never harsh. The forest feels washed, renewed, and deeply at ease, and I move within it without disturbance, held in its quiet memory, carried by its steady, unspoken calm. The rain has become only a memory in the leaves. I walk toward the ancient oak once more, drawn back to its wide, sheltering trunk. The air feels freshly washed, cool against my skin, carrying the scent of wet pine, moss, and dark soil. Above me, a few final droplets loosen from high branches, falling at long intervals, softer each time. Mist lingers close to the ground, then slowly begins to lift, thinning into transparency. The forest grows almost completely still. Even the stream quiets into a lower, gentler tone. I settle beneath the oak and rest my back against its steady bark. I breathe in slowly, filling my lungs with the clean, damp air. I breathe out just as slowly. The rhythm of falling droplets fades. The trees stand tall around me, protective and calm. Everything feels warm in its coolness, safe, and deeply at rest. Thank you for walking with me to that quiet place where the forest listens to falling rain. If this gentle journey brought you ease, you're warmly invited to like and subscribe for more relaxing stories to soften your evenings. May the hush of the trees and the steady rhythm of rain stay with you tonight. Sleep deeply, breathe slowly, and let the forest's quiet listening carry you into peaceful, untroubled dreams.